There are muscle building exercises out there that are extremely powerful. Of course, at building muscle that you're probably not doing. We're going to talk about the top 5 of those exercises. I'll start with the first one. This one was really popular in the 90s. It was one of the most popular shoulder exercises, and then everybody stopped doing them. The behind the neck shoulder press.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, everybody got scared to do this.
That's it.
I mean, I like to talk about this. Interesting you put it in this list, though, as a muscle building, like, because I don't see anybody not shoulder pressing. And am I getting that much out of behind the neck pressing?
Oh, Olympic lifters do them all the time. Bodybuilders in the 90s. Bodybuilders, yes, strongman, bodybuilders in the 90s do them all the time. Personal experience. Now, I know why it's not a super popular exercise. There's a lot of fear around them. You need good mobility.
Not a lot of people have good mobility. That's a big problem.
When you get that scapular retraction, you can get in that position and press, the pump you get in your shoulders is insane. It's ridiculous. It's one of the #1 exercises that I'll ever do that'll immediately inflate my delts.
Be interesting to see how much it takes the upper chest out of the movement by going behind the head.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like if we actually saw like a graph to show that. I mean, I'm a fan of it.
Yeah.
By the way, that's not me challenging it, saying that like, and I really like it as a goal to be able to do it. Right. So we talk a lot about this with squatting. Like people go, well, what if I can't squat? I'll just do leg. But no, it's like, okay, so you don't have a good squat right now, and you have these limiting factors. You have poor ankle mobility. You have forward shoulder. You have all these limiting. So let's make the squat the goal, and then let's work towards that. And the benefits you get towards working that goal, I think, are unbelievable. So to back you up as far as that exercise and that movement, you know, let's say somebody can't do that yet. The goal to get there and the work that needs to be put in order to do that is so beneficial. And I remember I had to start with the bar. That's all. I would literally behind the neck press just the bar. That's it. And it was
because of the mobility.
Yeah, because I had limited mobility there and worked on it. And then before long, I was able to do over a plate on there behind the neck like that. And great shoulder pumps. And even more importantly, I think the thoracic mobility, shoulder mobility that came with it is where the real benefits came from.
Yeah, just from holding yourself in this position back here, your delts have to contract. You know, of course, you need good scapular mobility and all that, but your delts really have to contract to hold in this position. And so it just maintains a ridiculous level of tension. Now, bodybuilders in the 90s used to say that behind the neck presses hit the side delt more than a traditional front press. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I could see the rationale. But I mean, there's videos of like Kevin Levrone, you know, behind the neck pressing 3 plates. And this was the most commonly done shoulder press with a barbell in the 90s. They all did it.
Yeah.
And this is why I did them, because I was a kid in the 90s and I would look at these bodybuilding magazines.
Yeah.
But I remember seeing Mariusz Pudzianowski, I think that's his name. He was a world's strongest man competitor. He's the one that looked like a bodybuilder.
Yeah, I remember that guy.
And there was like 300 pounds, and he would, lock it out, and he'd control it and sit on his traps and then lock it out. And I think that's how Olympic lifters do it, right?
That's how Olympic lifters do it. Yeah, and sometimes, and you'll see too a bit of a push press behind the neck. I've seen guys even do it behind the neck and then in front, and they alternate between the two.
Wait, you know who did that?
Psychos,
Rocky.
Oh, Rocky.
Yeah, dude.
Did Rocky do that?
Yeah, and it was part 1, I want to say. It might have been part 2, where he did that with the barbell. He's behind the neck and front.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. You
Definitely
that, right?
don't see
Doug's
that.
smiling because he knows.
They don't see that these days.
It's one of my favorite exercises, and if you can't do it, start with a stick.
Yeah.
Literally get a stick and see if you can get in a good position to bring the stick behind your head and just go up and down just with the stick. And you'll get a pump just from that position.
Yeah, I mean, again, to me, the real advice here is this is a very good goal to be able to do this. This is a skill that we all want to be able to have. And if you can do this, then I know that somebody has relatively good shoulder thoracic mobility.
That's right.
And that's something that I think all of us can work on. And so I wish that was taught to us as trainers. As trainers, we were taught not to do this, because of the risk versus reward.
They taught us to do a lot of things.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, they also taught us to squat 90 degrees for people too. Don't go deeper than that, right? So there's a lot of things that we were taught that I think I wish I unpacked that more, and instead of first just going and teaching clients that way, because I definitely did not do behind the neck presses for clients. But understanding the importance of shoulder and thoracic mobility and how I have to have good thoracic. And what I know is what's cool, it's like how I talk about a deep squat now. It took a lot of work with the ankle mobility and the 90-90s to get to a place where I could comfortably do ass to grass squatting. What's awesome now is I don't do nearly that kind of mobility work at all to keep that mobility up as long as I incorporate ass to grass squatting. This is very similar, is if you might have to do a lot of shoulder mobility, thoracic mobility to get to where you can actually pull and hold the bar behind your neck. But once you can do it, if you just keep that exercise in your routine, it'll keep good mobility. That's one of the best parts about that.
Also, something that a lot of people don't talk about is scapular strength and mobility. So that the shoulder blade or the scapula has to move along with the upper arm as you do shoulder exercises. I mean, if you try to press your arm up without allowing your scapula to move, you'll be very limited. In fact, that's part of frozen shoulder. Part of frozen shoulder issues is a scapula is not communicating very well. And so when you're doing it behind the neck, the scapula has to rotate and really retract as you're doing the press. And that really does, in my opinion, if you could do it well, good technique, good control, it just translates well into many, many, many shoulder pressing exercise. And again, Olympic lifters love it for that reason. We're going to be giving away the RGB bundle. MAPS Anabolic, MAPS Performance, and MAPS Aesthetic. Here's how you can win. Leave a comment below this video in the first 24 hours that we drop it. Make it a good comment. You also have to subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications. If you win, we'll let you know in the comment section. The March special is here. MAPS Performance and MAPS Performance Advanced are two best athletic performance mobility workout programs. If you like working out because you love fitness, because you love performance, because you love moving like an athlete, you like strength, speed, agility, power, you're going to love those two programs. Both of them right now for 50% off. Go check them out. Go to mapsfitnessproducts.com and then use the code MARCH50 for the discount. Next up, reverse curls. And I'll say this on an easy curl bar is probably a better way to do it. Reverse curls are really, really good at developing the brachioradialis muscle. So this is a muscle underneath the bicep. So when you're flexing your bicep, you see the big bicep here. Underneath it is a brachialis muscle. And then you have the brachioradialis muscle in the forearm. So it's this big, thick forearm muscle. And then the brachialis muscle is a muscle underneath the bicep. In my experience, doing this exercise with experienced lifters who never do this, they see extra growth in their arms because of these neglected, body parts.
It's one you got to be careful with if you haven't done before, because it seems like it'd be really sore.
It doesn't take much weight.
Stays there a long time, and I used to get that aggravated a bit when I was deadlifting, so doing reverse curls and really gradually kind of bringing that strength there helps a lot.
Yeah, so. What is the relationship with reverse curls and helping people who tend to have issues with like golfer's elbow and stuff like that? I find that when you teach clients to incorporate some of this, it tends to keep them from getting that. Like if you were somebody who had issues like that.
I think it's just that pronated position and strengthening. So many exercises that we do with our arms are either neutral or usually supinated. Right. And I think it's just a neglected position that we move through a full range of motion.
Which is, by the way, when you normally have aches and pains and mobility issues, there's a weakness somewhere.
Always.
And I found that once, we would have to do a little bit of corrective like mobility stuff initially with the golfer's elbow, but then as long as I incorporated either Zotman curls or reverse curls with that client, I was able to pretty much keep that at bay so long as I incorporated those movements. So for that reason, I think obviously you're going the muscle building. I see another reason why I think that's a really valuable exercise to incorporate.
Absolutely. I first really started getting good at these as a kid doing judo, because some of the throws involved, you would grip the gi and you pull towards you. And I thought as a kid, let me do this exercise. And I remember seeing my arms grow, and I've always incorporated them. I've always been very strong in that position. And whenever I work out with people, I don't do it so much these days, but back in the day, I would have them do this. Then they'd fall in love with it, and everybody would say, "Oh my God, my arms look so much better as a result." Next up, this is an exercise. Again, I know why it's not popular, because it looks dangerous. Requires good mobility as well. But it's a great upper chest exercise. It's called a guillotine press. So this is a flat bench exercise, but you bring the bar to your collarbone. So your elbows are really flared out. You come down to the collarbone, you press. And if you don't have good shoulder mobility, be very careful with this. Go light. But it really does target that mid to upper chest exceptionally well. This is a very popular exercise.
Very bodybuilder.
Very bodybuilder.
Yes.
Yeah. Vince Caranda popularized this as an upper chest exercise. Yeah. But you'll get that upper, mid, and kind of upper and mid chest development from it.
Can't say I've ever done these, to be honest with you.
Really? Have you never done them? I would say my traditional bench press looks closer to a guillotine press than it does look like a...
You don't do the powerlifter bench.
I don't powerlift bench.
You elbows flare out.
Yeah. I'm definitely... I come from that.
It's a good way to do this is on a I know you're gonna get mad, Justin, but a Smith machine. And the reason why I say that is sometimes with shoulder issues, the Smith machine's already in a track, so you just got to place yourself in position, and then you could just press the bar on the track. That's a nice way to get used to doing this version of a chest press.
Yeah, definitely recommend starting lighter than what you would do.
Way lighter.
Mistake would be to go right into bench pressing what you're used to bench pressing. You do need to have good shoulder mobility in order to do it. So like the behind the neck presses, this is one that you start really light and then work on it.
Next up, very popular exercise in the strength competition world, but not so much in the muscle building world, which is really too bad. This I would list as my number one most powerful shoulder building exercise, and that's the push press.
Yep.
And now a push press is, borrowed from strength competitors, right? Trying to lift something as heavy as you can overhead, while a push in the beginning helps you. Olympic lifters do this. It's really what you're doing with the push, and everybody says, what's cheating? No, it's an exercise. It's another exercise.
Yep.
That push at the bottom allows you to press with speed. So this is essentially it's an explosive shoulder press. It does involve some of the legs with the initial push, but I would argue you get more CNS activation as a result.
It's so funny that you say that it's form. This is why I never did it, because this is what I would say. I was one of those guys that would say, oh, this is cheating. Strict press. That's weak. Not realizing that at all. In fact, I didn't really push press until Justin and I became friends. That was not in my routine. It was not something, again, I never really identified with powerlifting or anything like that. I 100% was about sculpting my body. Thought it was ridiculous for me to choose this weight that I would use my legs and body English to get up. Let me tell you, that was became one of my favorite shoulder exercises for building my delts. And I like to do it with maybe a little bit of a twist, you would say, is because you're using body English and leg drive to get up a weight that you definitely couldn't strict press. I'd also stabilize it at the top afterwards.
Always.
So I use those legs to get it up and then hold it.
That's the way you're supposed to do it.
And then when you do that, you are holding a weight above your head you would never do before, and the body acclimates to that, and the strength and the shoulder gains I got from that were incredible. I think it's a great...
Just working fast twitch and changing up the tempo with acceleration.
That's the other thing. It's novelty for most people.
It totally places a different type of stimulus on that same, because I love strict press. Don't get me wrong. And I can understand that sentiment that it's somewhat of a cheat, but it's a completely different exercise. It just transforms it into something where I'm just all about snap and I'm about power. And so it just translated so well to athletics, because the first move is how quickly can I get there, and how quickly can I move my body? How can I punch somebody off of me? So that way, I can open myself up to make a play. And so it just translated so well. Plus you you stabilize overhead. It's, you end up throwing weight you never would have thought you could throw up. But then, then you go back to a strict press, watch how your gains improve even in your strict press.
Well, that's what I got from it was, and I don't remember where I was at. I wish I remember the exact numbers to share with the audience, just to remember that wherever my strict press was at that time, that was like a max. I hadn't been above that. And then I go to a push press. I could probably do at least 50 more pounds of the push press with my legs, right? And just getting so used to stabilizing a weight that was 50 pounds over my strict press PR got me comfortable that way. So easily I was able to increase 10, 20 pounds on my strict press later on. So I'm a huge fan of this movement.
Nice variation of this, the way the Olympic lifters do it. And I first started practicing this as a kid in my backyard because we had grass back there. But you push press the weight and you drop it. Oh, no, I didn't throw it. I didn't do that until much later. That's a whole nother ballgame. That's awesome. Yeah. Where you actually throw the weight. That's great. Yeah. No, I would would push press it, stabilize, and then I'd drop it in front of me. If you have bumper plates, you could do this. Because you eliminate the negative portion of the rep, it's way less muscle damaging, and you focus a lot on speed. So you take a weight that is not your max, something you could press that requires some force that you can produce some speed with, press it up, stabilize, drop it, wait, a minute, and then try it again. Great explosive upper body power exercise. All right, next up, this exercise I never saw it anywhere. We started talking about it on the podcast, and slowly, little by little, I see people doing it here and there. And I still, to this day, I believe this to be the best quad isolation exercise you could do, period, end of story. And that's the sissy squat. It's like a leg extension, except much more difficult.
Way better.
Yeah. And the stretch and the tension at the bottom is exceptional for growth. I didn't do leg extensions forever because all I would do was sissy squats. And if I wanted to add resistance, I would hold a plate. Yeah. But this was a favorite among bodybuilders in the 60s and 70s. It's a great one.
Well, I never went back to leg extension once I started doing sissy squat like that. It's just so much better range of motion, so much better feel and quad activity. So yeah, I prefer it actually.
Yeah, I credit you for this one. Yep. I didn't sissy squat till we all got together, and I know that was a favorite of yours. It was built into the program, and it became a staple. I know after feeling, I think the hardest part is the doing it until you get the mechanics of it.
It's just the technique you got to do.
It's a little advanced as far as understanding how to do it correctly. I think that's where a lot of people get hung up. Once you figure out how to do the movement, it's great for hip, ankle mobility, core. Like you get a deeper, fuller range of motion on the quad. I love it. I would do that going forward now. Then I would never do leg extensions. And what's great is you don't need anything. Yeah. You literally need like one thing to hold on to stabilize you. Yeah. Some guys can do it with nothing to stabilize. I still have to use something to keep my balance. And you can load it by holding something in it, and just body weight is normally enough for most people.
Plenty.
But you could progress it by adding weight, and so you don't really need much to get this incredible, quad pump from it.
It's funny how people are a little bit scared because it looks like it's like crazy for the knees doing that. But in fact, too, like even just leg extension, I feel like is more problematic.
I feel more pressure in my knees on leg extensions than I do sissy squats. Really? When you do it right, it doesn't feel that way at all. So it's
just more resistance. You have to have a certain level of strength to do a sissy squat with just your body weight.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. So there are definitely people that can't do one.
Yeah, I'm not taking my 80-year-old client on her first session with sissy squats.
I wouldn't take a beginner and do a sissy squat.
No, not a beginner.
Because they're just not strong enough. But if you work out and you got strong legs.
A young athletic kid could figure it out.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. An athletic kid could probably do it.
A young athletic kid who's got strength.
But not like a middle-aged client that doesn't
No. Middle-aged, just the beginning where they're starting. No. And actually, probably more so, I don't know if it's strength or even just the technique of it is a bit for a brand new client who's like doesn't have a lot of body awareness yet. Like that's what it takes is that first.
Okay, so you guys know how the data shows that exercise improves sleep, right? Lots of data on this. Exercise helps with falling asleep faster. It helps with the different REM stages of sleep, so you get better quality sleep.
Did we even need a study for this? I feel like anybody who's ever worked out and taken a break from working out, always one of the first things I noticed.
Since COVID, we have to prove everything all over again. People just like took their brain, threw it in the trash can. Oh yeah, I guess.
It's anybody who's ever worked out and paid attention to how they sleep versus when they don't work out. It's clear.
Well, there was a study. This was a meta-analysis that actually compared different forms of exercise.
So that's interesting.
Yes, different forms of exercise and how they impacted sleep, and it was primarily done with older individuals. Okay, although I would say you could probably take
give me the forms. High intensity cardio,
cardiovascular exercise, walking, sports, strength training.
Okay,
strength training was the best.
Really?
Strength training.
What do they attribute that to? Is it the recovery process of it that your body's needing more recovery?
They're like, intensity, but that's not true because people do intensity with, intense cardio too. It's not about exhausting the body. I think it has more to do with the insulin sensitizing hormone effects that strength training provide, right? So insulin sensitivity,
the balancing out of the hormones from it, that makes more sense.
Yeah, because like insulin sensitivity is connected to better sleep, or should I say, poor insulin sensitivity is connected to poor sleep.
Well, we just had a great conversation with Dr. Cabral again, and a lot of it was centered around cortisol and stuff like that. I would think that working strength training puts that to work really well and maybe helps level and balance some of that out. Would that play a role?
He mentioned too, like the timing of your workout probably plays a factor there as well.
Yeah, but you know, like blood sugar, right? If when you have blood sugar issues, especially at night, it'll affect your sleep for sure.
Yeah.
When you're in strength training, really affects blood sugar in profound ways because muscle is very insulin sensitive, and it's also a storage vessel for carbohydrates. So, and they saw this most profoundly in older adults. And here's the other beauty about it. You don't have to do a lot of it, right? 2 days a week of strength training is a good routine if done properly. So if you're struggling with insomnia or sleep issues and you want to exercise to help with that, I would do strength training. Now, that's not to say that if you overdo it, that it won't give you poor sleep. One of the number one signs of overtraining is insomnia, and that's true for any form of exercise, including, including resistance.
Well, to your thought of like it not being attributed to just exhausting the body, because you'd see the cardiovascular be higher priority, right, for depleting you of glucose.
Not to mention this. Have you guys ever experienced this? I'm sure you have. Like crazy hard workout, and it's an hour till bed, and then you just in bed. You can't.
Oh
sleep.
no, that
you get wired.
I can't train anywhere close to bed.
No.
But I am trying to recall right now. I wish I could recall this. Comparing those 2-hour basketball run days versus a day that I strength trained, and to see what, because I actually assume, Sal, that it had something to do with exhaustion. Like just my body, I assume that my body needs a certain amount of physical activity every day to then properly come down at night to then sleep. And then when I have these days where, let's say I don't, and we sit here under this fluorescent light, we sit in these chairs, it doesn't get to expend that at nighttime, it feels like it's still needed. It needed that. So if it's not an exhaustion thing, it must be more hormonal.
Yeah. And I did tell Dr. Cabral while he was here, and he thinks it has to do with central nervous system, because strength training does train the central nervous system. I mean, all activity does, but strength training really strengthens the central nervous system, because you're calling upon it to fire your muscles in a particular way to
recruit,
exert force. So, but it's cool. It's another check mark, right, for strength training.
Speaking of Cabral, are you going to bring up the raw milk thing that he shared?
We need to.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, this is.
I'll read it to you, everybody. It's pretty ridiculous, but okay.
Read the title of the study first.
This is so stupid. This is the kind of stuff that makes me think
so slimy.
It makes me think that there's this weird
This is why
agenda.
we have a podcast, so we can talk about this stuff.
Yeah, like there's a weird agenda that's out there where they're trying to convince the public to a particular opinion. And so what they'll do is they'll take a headline, put it up there, not really tell you what the study was or did, or if it has any relevance whatsoever, but it sounds alarming, right? So here's what it says. This is the title of it. Stanford study reveals the flu virus remains infectious in refrigerated raw milk.
Yeah.
First of all,
what are we to conclude just from
First of all, what does that mean?
Yeah.
If I took the flu virus and put it in water, put it in, is it going to stay there unless I put it all, kill it with soap? Probably. Yeah. But what the study did is they took the flu virus and they squirted it in raw milk and then waited to see how long it lasted.
Now, how does your
what does that have to do with
average
anything?
person, what do they take away from
Doesn't even mean that you necessarily would contract from it. Doesn't mean that that's any different than if you put it in water or a peanut butter and jelly sandwich
or pasteurized milk.
Yeah.
See, here's the deal. Pasteurized milk is heated up to kill everything in it. Okay, that's what pasteurization is. Raw milk you take from healthy cows, and they don't do that, okay? So the implication is that because raw milk is not pasteurized, it has the flu virus in there. But that's not what happened. They took raw milk, didn't have the flu virus in it.
Injected it in
there. They
there.
squirted it in there or threw it in there and then said, if you took the flu virus and put it in pasteurized milk, you would see the same thing.
Yeah.
Or worse.
Or in any other substance,
Yeah.
really, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the part that's really weird to
Except
me.
for
is that-
Coke. I think Coke kills everything.
yeah, we've seen what you ever see what
It's
Coke,
corrosive.
You ever see what Coke does to like a dirty penny?
Oh yeah, it cleans your entire like drains.
I'm not gonna lie. I think I took it easy off of Coke for a while after seeing that.
Yeah,
one. So it's like,
dude.
better back off a little bit.
But there's like a war against raw milk that's been happening for a while. Have you guys ever seen the videos of?
Yes.
I don't know what agency. What government agency is it that goes in and like checks this stuff? But they're
The FDA.
maybe the FDA or whatever. But they're like kicking door down.
Yeah,
and
like it's like a meth lab.
doing like a raid.
Yeah,
and they'll have like cameras
breaking bottles
in the farm. And they're like, yeah, smashing bottles like it looks like prohibition. going on.
prohibition days.
Crazy. When you look at the data on raw milk is milk from healthy cows is fine. It's perfectly fine.
I know.
Yeah. You know what's funny? My kids, this is what I give my kids. I give my kids raw milk. Luckily, we could buy it here in California. I could buy it at the store. Did you know raw milk, by the way, doesn't go sour if you leave it out?
Yeah.
It turns into, what does it turn into?
Butter
or not,
curdled milk.
What's the milk called? Buttermilk.
Buttermilk.
Yeah, buttermilk.
Yeah. And that's because it has beneficial bacteria in it that offset the bad stuff. I bet you the flu virus would live longer in pasteurized milk. That's what I think. Because there's nothing to try to offset it or whatever.
Yeah.
And speaking of kids and study stuff, I saw this really cool one on kids' memories. You know what 90% of the core memories that children remember are?
90% of the core
90% of the core memories.
Core memories?
Yeah, I didn't know this. I thought this was really interesting. Any guesses?
trauma.
Oh man.
That's what I would have thought. I
You
would
know, like negative ones.
Yeah, you know what? And this is what I don't know. So this was me listening to someone talk about the study. So I didn't go deep like Sal and read the entire abstract and everything like that. So it'd be interesting to see if they teased out things like that. But it was family
places?
trips.
Oh,
Family
wow.
trips.
I just said that right. You said
Yeah. Yeah, they make that much of an impression
Hold
on a kid.
Think about your core
Yes.
memories growing up.
No, you're right.
That's why I
A lot
did.
of them are family
I remember
trips.
going
Right
to
away,
Disneyland,
when
I remember
that's
going
why
to
that's why I
Canada.
brought it up because they confirmed that right away. I was like, man, even with all the trauma I had, I actually was like, I could
Although the
definitely
family
all the
trips are
camping
traumatic.
trips.
Yes, I know. I was like, I could recall most all the trips that we probably
Wow.
took.
Yeah.
And I
That's
thought
wild.
that's really interesting how impressionable.
You literally, when you said that,
Dang.
I was thinking, and I can remember camping trips. I can remember.
And so the point of this conversation that was really cool because we're always talking about how some people are so much more privileged than others and all this stuff. It's like what's included in that is camping in your backyard.
Of course.
It doesn't have to be going to Florida or going to Hawaii for a $10,000 trip.
Go to a free park.
Exactly. It was that's how impactful it could be these really basic trips, but they were just trips with the family. And I thought that was a really cool.
Some of my most fond memories, and I hate saying this because I don't do this with my family, but when I was a kid, we get camping. Now, camping is a massive pain in the ass when you're an adult.
It's a lot of work.
Camping sucks for the parents because you got to load things, and you got to bring all the kids, you got to bring all the stuff with them. Then you get there, and then setting everything up takes you forever anyway.
Yeah.
And it's
Then
dirty.
It rains, and then you got to dig a trench around your tent. You're
Yeah,
like, what the hell?
dude. Oh, it's a nightmare. But as a kid, I've got to have to do any of that. I just showed up. Man, mom and dad had everything ready.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it was
really
fun. It was really cool to hear that because I'm just like, that's an area we travel a lot with Max and stuff like that, so that's cool. But I mean, I can make an effort to make little trips and little things like that more often. But
You're not a camper either.
No, but how funny though. I camped growing up like crazy
All the time.
all the time.
That's all we did.
And if you were to ask me, what was someone actually just interviewed me and asked me like, what's my single most like memorable thing that I did growing up? It's camping. Every year I've talked about this before. Every year. I went with my best friend's family. It was their tradition. They had been doing it for 30 years. And I became a part of it when I was in elementary, junior high, all the way through high school, even beyond high school. I did this. We go up to Trinity Lake, which is up by Mount Shasta, and we stayed there for 10 days. And I just, all we did was camp, fish, and boat, wakeboard. And that's all we did. And we played a lot of cards and board games and stuff like that. But that is some of my fondest memories. I can recall every one of those trips and all the things that we did. And so, yeah.
Did you guys camp in a tent?
I did, but I did a little bougie style. So I always had like the double air mattress. I brought my linen sheets there and stuff.
It's not that bad.
Yeah. So I like it was still in a tent, you know, but I definitely spruced it up for sure.
Yeah, I haven't done it. It's mainly because Courtney just doesn't.
Katrina doesn't. No. Katrina doesn't like it. I would.
So I'm like, okay, you know, just got kind of beat out of me, but
I totally would.
Yeah.
There's a side of me that we all know that is this kind of bougie side, but I absolutely can go camping. But I have to have like
you got to be in the mindset to do it though, right? Like it's
because you have to be accepting of the dirt and accepting of all.
Well,
the
there's going to be hard, but it's like it's going to be a different kind of fun.
There's also it's a wide spectrum. Like I have friends that like to go
get a motorhome.
They're like, let's go hiking 10 miles in, and we don't know how we're gonna eat. We're gonna fish and kill our food and like figure it. I'm like, that I'm not interested in. You know what I'm saying? There's no restrooms. There's no showers. We don't know how we're gonna eat. Like fuck that. I'm not interested in that. But there's lots of cool like camping areas where you're right next to a lake and they have nice bathroom amenities and you can campsites are clean looking.
It's even more valuable. It's probably more valuable
today
now than ever
because
of the disconnection from technology.
I was looking at the stars at night and you don't get that kind of view because all the light pollution and everything else. And it's like you just kind of brings that perspective back. I think that's just one of the things, just being in nature where it's quiet, it's still, and it's just like it's foreign now to people.
Well, and I think it's so important for us dads or parents in general to incorporate this early. Otherwise, it's like anything else. They'll lose it. They won't do it. They'll never want it. You know what I'm saying? Like, whereas if you at least build a little bit of that tradition or a little bit of that in them, then one, not only do you get the benefits of that being strong core memories for them, but then hopefully you build some value in nature and detaching and get away from all that stuff. So yeah, I thought that was interesting. And and I wouldn't have thought that. I would have guessed trauma or some other things like that.
Well, one of my most vivid memories involved camping, but it's also because my cousin and I got chased by a bear. That's a true story.
Is that your bear spray story?
No, that's another one. I was an adult with that one and a dumbass. I was there. Hey, sorry to interrupt you. Look, are you lifting weights, eating a ton of food, and struggling? You're not packing on any muscle. You're not building any muscle at all. You're not getting stronger. Well, check it out. We have a hard gainer guide. This can be your ultimate resource to turn that around. Pack on some muscle mass with our hard gainer guide. It's totally free. You can get it by downloading it, clicking on the link in the description below. Anyway, speaking of memories and thinking and stuff like that, this is day 1 of 0 caffeine.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
And
so what are you doing?
We got to look out for you.
Obviously, we know you're cutting caffeine out, but what are you doing to help that?
So a red juice, I had it this morning.
Organifi.
Organifi red juice, and then I'm doing their Pure right now.
Oh, you're doing that too?
Yeah, so I have it right here in my water. Justin was nice and got me some.
Yeah.
So I'm doing Pure and
so
red
I was
juice.
looking lost. It was like,
bro,
episode.
Can I just tell you guys, listen. So I have 400 milligrams of caffeine a day is typically what it looks like. Caffeine is a drug, everybody. You go off of it,
bro.
it sucks.
It's such a drug that if it was found today,
it'd be illegal.
It would be illegal
for sure.
Yeah.
By all other standards of everything else that we make illegal, that's crazy to me. It's funny how our society works like that.
Yeah, was it in Chile where they had like the coca leaves where they're hiking, they're doing everything all day long, but it's like they're chewing on that. Yeah.
My wife did that. I don't remember where she was hiking when she used to travel the world all the time, and they would have them chew on coca leaves. I'm like, that's cocaine, babe. She's like, I know. Yeah. They just chew the leaves.
It's cool though, right?
Yeah, whatever. But I mean, the Pure and the red juice are definitely helping. I can tell when I take them. So what's happening with the lack of caffeine for me, again, from 400 milligrams to 0, is first off, my workout this morning was it was terrible. It totally made my workout suck. Like I was just going through the motions, like I got to do this. I did a cold ass shower. So in the gym, I took like a 2-minute freezing shower to try and give me a little bit of energy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And my thought, I'm not super foggy, but definitely earlier around noon, my energy was dipping so bad. So I had to go out there and do a trigger session. So I went out there, those rings attached to the cage, do a little trigger session. And then I'm drinking some Pure, and I'm okay. I'm not, but boy, man, that withdrawal from caffeine is, what's the typical withdrawal from caffeine? Look that up, Doug. How long am I going to be suffering for?
Gotta be a couple
Because this is going for 40 days. This is for Lent. So I'm going to be doing this.
Yeah, but I feel like in a couple of days you'll be fine.
It's probably like a week.
I think it's a week.
I think it's shorter than that.
I think it's going to be a week. Man, if I feel really good off caffeine.
I'm going to guess 48 hours, bro.
You think so?
Yeah. I'm gonna say 48 hours.
If I feel
2 to 9 days.
See,
it's going to take.
It can last for 2 to 9 days, but peak is within 20 to 51 hours.
Okay.
Yeah,
well, so
I think after 2 days you're gonna feel.
If I feel really good off
9
caffeine,
days for
here's what's going to happen.
You would be 9 days. I might be close to that.
It'll be 7.
Yeah.
So
don't kill yourself.
I'm going to tell you guys what's going to happen. I'm going to go off. Here's what's probably going to happen. I'm probably going to feel really amazing when I get through the withdrawal because I've done this before years ago. I went off caffeine for years and I just felt so good. I remember being like, this is so amazing. So I'm going to go off. I'm going to feel great. And then I'm going to take a little caffeine and it's going to be amazing.
Yes.
It's going to be like an amazing drug.
Yeah,
and I'm going to get right back up to 400.
That's reasons.
That's the reward, dude. That's the only reason I would.
That's half the fun is the ride back.
Bring it down. Yeah.
The ride back.
Oh, there she is. Oh,
that's the only reason why I learned that shit a long time ago. All the stuff I cycle is like it's the ride back I'm looking forward to. I'm trying to cut this shit out forever.
Yeah, why would you do that?
I honestly think that's whenever I have friends or anybody I know that's struggling with any sort of attachment or addiction to something like that.
That's how you tell your alcohol.
That's how I sell.
Hey, bro, stop drinking alcohol.
I'm like, listen, dude,
it'll be so cool when
if
you do
you
it again.
think you like it so much because you can't give it up every day, if you could just discipline yourself, that shit gets 10 times better again if you just get off of it for a while.
Those 20 beers could just be one.
And you'll be so
You'll
happy.
be like, same feeling.
Anyway, there was a study done on men versus women and training volume.
Oh yeah.
Who do you think?
Of course.
Women.
What was I going to say?
Who can handle
They can handle the
beat up
most.
more?
Yeah.
Who can handle more volume?
Yes.
Yeah,
Women.
Women. How'd you know that?
You have babies, bro.
Yes, dude.
No,
they're
that's
just
not-
better with stress.
Yes, they can handle babies. Can you have a baby?
No.
Okay, there you
Wait a
go.
minute.
There's your answer.
Maybe. How do you know I can't have a baby? No. It's
2025.
Bro, have you ever seen a guy with a cold?
huh?
My wife's sick right now, still running the house.
That's-
You know what I'm saying? Still taking care of my son, still doing everything like that. If I was sick like that, done.
I know.
Women function better under stress. I'll say
They're
that.
tougher than we are when it comes to that stuff. They just are.
Yeah. Well,
I didn't need a study for that either.
Well, I don't know if it's any of that. You guys.
Well, let's hear what your
You're
study
already pointing
says.
at our
okay, let's
female
hear the
audience.
science.
That's it. No science to it. That's this.
That's it.
That's
You're
the
gonna
study,
justify
dude.
it.
They compared how much fatigue men and women accumulate, and they tested 4 sets of bicep curls to failure. Women suffer significantly less fatigue from training than men. Now, I wonder if this has to do with the overall.
Is there anything going on with like lactic acid or something like that?
Well, here's some more points from it. Women can do more reps than men at a given training intensity, except above 80%. Once it starts to get really heavy, than men.
Well, then that speaks to what, because we have more fast twitch muscle fibers.
That's the speculation. So
Yeah, so
women
that-
lose significantly less strength across sets than men, and women can maintain higher muscle activity levels across sets.
Now, based off of that, then Sal, it would be are the long distance runners women just as good as men? Are they close? They're not.
No,
so.
but they're closer than sprinting.
I bet.
Yes,
I bet they're not far
The
off.
longer the distance, the closer women close the gap. Swimming is in particular, super long distance swimming.
Yeah.
Women and men are pretty darn close.
That's you guess based off of what you're talking about right now. It's interesting that they're not passed.
No. In fact,
So does
look up.
the muscle and strength make up a little bit for the lack of
just overall
kinda takes it out as a
overall
factor.
athletic performance. Listen, no, that's a marathon. Doesn't count. Marathon's too short. You have to look at long
distance. Like
century-
ultra marathon would work.
Yes.
Right?
Ultra marathon.
I would think like some of the ultra
Now,
marathon.
here's the whole like women can women can take more stress or whatever. Okay, I get when people say that, but when it comes to hormonal effects of too much stress, women are far more sensitive. That's a fact.
To what? Say what again?
Hormonal effects.
Yeah, so the too much intensity with workouts and stuff, a woman's hormones are going to go all over the place.
Yeah.
She'll lose her period because her body is like, I'm not going to have. I can't have.
Well, that's the downstream effects. I wonder what about in the acute, like in the moment, right? In the moment, can they handle it? But then the downstream effects are.
Yeah, I think accumulative when you add it all up, then like fasting can really stress women's bodies out and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But look at this. So 50-mile races. So that's a long one. Male record is 7:29. Female is 8:19. 100-mile races. Male is 20:58, and the record for women is 23:40. So as a percentage, then you see women start to close the gap when it becomes longer and longer. But swimming, Doug, if I'm not mistaken, the super long swimming.
I didn't know that.
Distances.
That's a cool. That's a cool.
Now,
little-
and the reason why they think that is because women are more buoyant. On top of the fact that when it comes to long stamina, they start to close. They start to close the gap. Yeah, you ever seen these super long distance swimmers? They're not like super lean.
They got boobs.
No.
Yeah. Buoys. Natural buoys.
All the points we won. You guys just.
I'm stating a fact.
I gave him.
I
gave him the win early.
Is that not benefiting you? That's helping. It's not help. It's not hurting.
Yeah, that's 100 meters. You got to go like ultra long distance.
Yeah, I don't know what they call those.
That's
just type in
tough googling.
ultra long.
Tough googling over here.
Ultra long. Hey, did you guys?
I'm going to get Adam a computer to put right there so he
Ultra
can
long.
do it for me.
Longest open water.
Insanely
Oh, here.
ultra long.
The longest open water swim. So a woman swam 104 miles. Wow. Does it say what a man did, or was that the longest period? I think the longest open water swim ever was a woman.
Wow.
There you go.
Really?
Yeah.
Hey.
If I'm not mistaken, I knew there was
Cool.
something about it. Isn't that kind of cool?
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of searching, and you said Googling and all that stuff. You know what I found weird?
Oh, look at. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
You know what
I
I
was
found?
just noticing how close the
Yeah.
the
I'm
Sorry, I'm going to still
Olympics
say
to the men and women.
something.
You know what's really weird? We're talking about search, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I learned this from Ann. She runs our education department here at Mind Pump. We just did a webinar.
I know what you're gonna bring up.
Okay, we just did
The AI thing,
bro.
Yeah, I think that's funny.
That is creepy. So we just did a huge webinar for trainers, teaching them how to leverage social media to build their business. Is there any way, Doug, that the replay will be available if people want to go now? Can they do that, or is it going to be done?
There is a replay.
Can they watch it if they go to it right
Yes.
now? Can I? Okay, what's this? What is it?
Well, I don't know where it's going to be held.
Why would
so-
we not keep all of our replays up on the
Well,
same
okay, so
website?
we have a website. I can put it up on.
Okay.
It's our Mind Pump Fitness Coaching YouTube channel.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
There
we
you go.
should just keep that up all the time, no?
Well, nonetheless, it was a webinar on social media. Anyway, Ann understands how to use ChatGPT and AI, how to prompt it to figure out your target market and how to communicate to them. It's really remarkable stuff that she's explaining. And then she said this, and I was like, huh? She said, you'll get much better answers and you'll get better production from your ChatGPT
If you're polite.
If you're nice to
If you're
it.
polite.
What?
Saying please and thank you.
What?
Are you
Yeah.
serious?
Yes, and complimenting it.
You didn't hear that?
Yeah. You didn't. No, he
Oh,
wasn't.
yeah. Oh, she said it
I was
works.
working out.
She said
Doesn't listen to
Tired
sound
of you guys.
anymore. I know
He's
those
so
guys
tired of
listen.
us, dude.
I was cheering for you from the sidelines.
You know, he gave me a nickname. What'd you call me? Sales Funnel Sal.
Yeah,
Sales
Funnel Sal.
Funnel Sal.
Yeah. And then, what was Doug? It was Wolf Daddy.
Oh yeah, he's Wolf Daddy now.
Wolf
by the
Daddy
way.
now.
Wolf
Just so you know.
Daddy.
You
That's a
gotta
good
call
name
Doug
for that.
Wolf Daddy.
But anyway, if you're polite to your ChatGPT, hey, can you please do this? And thank you so much. It'll give you better.
Okay, if you go back in
Output.
time with our podcast, previous, I was like, I made a point of like being nice to the AI
Yeah.
and Siri
Yes.
and all that. And I was just like tongue in cheek because it's going to someday like come after us, but that's really weird that it actually gives you like a better response if you're
Yes.
Why would that be the case? It's a computer. It's a computer program. Why do I have to say please?
why is there emotion attached to it?
Yeah, why do I have to say please? Why can't I just say?
Well,
give
they
me this,
obviously
that, and the other?
programmed it that way.
Yeah.
Obviously, right? Or
I don't know if they programmed it that way or
Or
if,
just it adapted to
I
that.
think it's
don't know.
keeping track, bro. That's right.
Can we talk about the iPhone Trump thing? That
Oh,
was.
that already happened. It's gone now.
Yeah, that's a old
Is
news,
that,
but
oh,
yeah.
if someone did it now, it wouldn't work.
No, I don't think. I think
No, they
I think
corrected it,
fixed
I believe, because I think even Apple admitted that was a flaw.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
yeah.
I
You know
mean,
what that
you can
is?
tell the audience that because I videoed it so we can show the people that are
Oh
watching.
yeah, we have a
I-
video of it. It works.
Yeah, I videoed. So
If you type in Trump,
no,
oh,
no. You type in if you're going to go send a text message. So get ready. If someone is listening to this right now, and you'll see the video on here. But if you were about to text anybody a message, so you pull up their name, you start to write in the comments or whatever.
you do voice text.
Or excuse me, you're right, voice text, and you say racist, the text will say Trump first, and then it'll
then switch
delete,
to racist.
and then it'll switch to racist. And none of us believed it. And then we all went around, and each of us did it, and it allowed it one time.
It does it once, and it doesn't.
One
do it again.
time, and then it doesn't do it again after that. So you can only do it one time, and then it goes away. And
Weird glitch.
we figured out you can only do it one time, and then we waited. So Justin hadn't done it on his phone, and so I made sure to pull my camera out to check. And then, sure as shit, when he did it, it did it. And
Yes.
I told my sister Katrina they all did it. And again, one time they could do it one time, and then after that, it would solve.
You know what that is, by the way? It's not Apple. People are like, Apple is trying. No, it's not.
No, it's
Apple.
an engineer who's
There's like a
part.
rogue engineer.
Yeah, of course.
They do Easter eggs and stuff.
This has been happening forever.
They do it in video games.
They do it in
Cartoons.
Disney.
Yeah,
Disney
they're
covers.
signature.
Remember all the Easter eggs in the Disney movies?
Yes.
If you freeze it, you see sex written on the wall, and it looks like
A cock in the clouds.
Yes, there's all kinds of
just it.
not that
That's
one.
one way to say it.
That's
I don't know how to eloquently
That's the Mermaid's
portray
Castle
that,
had that.
Which one was it?
The Mermaid's Castle.
Yeah.
So on the front cover of Little Mermaid, it totally looks like a
Did they hand
penis.
signal again?
Shaft.
So yeah, that, and then I remember all of them.
shotgun
Aladdin when they're
or a
flying
dick?
the carpet through
It
the
says
tunnel.
sex.
No, sex is the one that said when the Lion King drops his paws and hits
And it
the
hits
dust,
the
and the
dust.
dust goes up and it
Yes.
says sex.
Oh, right.
Because you know these artists or engineers are like, bro, watch this.
Yeah.
And then they do it, and they're like, nobody will find it. You know?
Yeah, and then what happens is they tell their friends, eventually gets around, and then eventually it spreads, and then
Yeah, and some of these old codes in video games were there for them to be able to test the video games, like the Konami code that leaked. Remember, up, down, left, right, left, right,
Yeah, yeah.
A, B, select, start, whatever.
Yep.
That got you like 99 lives.
Yeah.
That was a code for the engineers that they would do themselves to test the game out, so they could have.
Oh, I
bunch
didn't
of
know
lives.
that.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was intentionally created.
No, it was intentionally created for them, and then it got leaked.
Well, then that created
know
the
that.
Game Genie, right? Because
Game Genie.
yeah, then
'Cause
you
they
could
all have 'em.
Add all these crazy codes and
So
did you
that
ever
was
just go
is that the
anarchy
history
mode?
of that? I didn't know that. I thought.
I'm pretty sure that's what happened.
I think you might.
I think that's how some of them are, but
I
I,
haven't
think
heard
the
that, but
Konami one.
I'm
is
going along with it. Yeah.
because I felt like that what they did was so smart. It opened up like a whole new market within the market, right? It's like now you got all these video games.
Doug,
and-
look, Google origin of Konami.
well, just
Contra code.
origin of video
no.
game codes.
Yeah, but a lot of the codes are what I said.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it was the Konami code. Was
Is that what it was called?
Konami was the name, the brand of the. It was Super Contra.
Yes.
Konami was the company that made the game.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And
The
game
I believe it
studio.
gave you 30 lives.
Was it 30?
I believe
was
it was
like
30.
99?
It might be 99. You might be right. I do know it gave you at least 30 to 99 lives.
sure it
That's
was
for
the
sure.
jam.
So the Konami code was created by Kazuhisa Hashimoto to help him test the game. See, he told you. He found the game too difficult to play through during testing. To make it easier to progress, he created a cheat code that gave him all the power-ups in the game. The code was left in place when production started because removing it would have created glitches. And then it became popular. Scroll down, Doug. It must have been leaked. It leaked somehow, and then that was it.
I feel like we'd reverse society if we went back to you die, you have to go all the way back to the beginning.
Yes.
You know, just a standard for video
Oh,
games.
you mean like just for lessons to teach
Yes.
kids?
You cannot
where are
just
you- I was
hang
like,
out
where-
and play.
where are you going with this?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
No, you can't just hang out and play. Hey, buddy, blah, blah. Like you're gonna die. Go get your objective
Go
done.
back to go.
Yeah,
Start over.
be
You gotta start over
productive.
tomorrow.
Otherwise, you got to memorize the code. Otherwise, it's gone. Remember
Yep.
that?
Yep.
Like, oh man, that would give me anxiety.
You know, speaking of companies like this, Nintendo was one of them that you just made me think about. You know what Nintendo was making first? What their first product was?
Cards.
Yes. Game like playing
playing
cards.
cards.
Really?
Yeah, I sent you guys a link.
I
I
saw
was
that.
really fascinated by all. I found some.
That was cool.
And it was a post. It was like all these companies that you're all very familiar with, and I mean Sony and Nintendo, a bunch of companies like this. That I mean, their first products were like nothing to do with what they do now.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought that was really. I mean, cool.
So it was game, but it was card game.
Yeah, but I mean, some of them.
The other
were,
ones
so,
were-
bro. Some of them were like toilet paper and then
Yeah.
televisions. I mean, some of them were like.
Well,
huge.
Lamborghini, I already knew that
Yeah,
one.
don't
They
look in-
started out with
Tractor.
tractors.
Don't,
Yeah.
don't look into Bayer.
Did you? Yeah, there.
Oh my
did you
God.
find the post?
I know that one.
So Sony was a rice cooker, Nokia toilet paper.
Yeah, that was the toilet paper one. Where's the other ones?
Nokia was
There's a bunch of
toilet
them.
paper?
Yeah, there you go. Nintendo playing cards, Toyota automatic looms. I mean,
a loom.
isn't that funny?
Colgate
Colgate
was
was
soap. Well, that
soaps.
kinda makes
Yeah, that
sense.
makes sense. Sam's grocery store.
Wow.
That's a huge difference.
Lego wooden toys.
Oh, I didn't know that Lego had wooden toys first. That's-
Wow. So you know what happened? Like like somebody inherited the company. You know, like Grandpa's facial cream company, LG's. Like I'm going to move to.
Well,
technology.
you know, there's also highlights. This is what's so interesting to me about this is how much hasn't changed. Okay. Once you build a network and a community of people that trust a brand in anything, it really allows you to. I mean, listen, there's
It floats your next idea.
exactly, and right now there's this month millions of people will listen
What are
to.
you trying to convince us to do, Adam? You want us to do something?
Well, no, why this is top of
wants
mind
ice
for
cream
me is what
stores.
I've been telling you guys for a while now, that we're in a major shift of this company, right? And we're in a transition of 10 years. We've been very focused in one direction, and, you know, we might be selling sneakers in 10 years. I'm not saying that.
So happy.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. But
If I can't have a supplement,
yeah,
you can't have
you know how
sneakers.
mad he would be. We're
my
a
God.
sneaker business now. You know what I'm saying?
As long as we sell guitars with it too.
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
Cool with that.
No, but I mean,
You
you build loyalty in customers, whether it's through anything, and you have a pool of people. As long as you find another way to meet their needs, and many times you get better at business, and so maybe you get better at even uncovering what those needs are, and then that's how companies evolve, right? So,
Interesting.
Yeah.
I was, talking about interesting history. Do you know how many wars were fought over salt?
yes. That was the main wars were fought originally over salt.
Doug, if you look up like how many wars were fought, salt was like a big deal for a long time.
Isn't that the big all the Israelites and imprisoning them and everything like that when they were like salt mining and wasn't that?
I don't know.
Oh yeah,
I don't know about
I'm
that.
terrible at history stuff. So.
Yeah, but I want to see salt. Like salt was such a precious mineral that there were wars fought over it. Let's see what it says here. Many wars. So there was the Salt War in 1304, where Venice defeated Padua. The War of Ferrara in 1482 to 1484. The Salt War again, 1540. Well, these are all in Italy.
But look at how many wars were fought over it. So why, Sal? Why going basically before 1878? It's pretty much every 50 years. It almost looked like. A war was fought over salt, but then not anymore. What was it about it then that's so different from the 1900s?
It must have been how they collected it. That's a good question, because salt was used in meat preservation quite a bit. So if you were shipping anything and you needed to feed your sailors, you would salt the meat to prevent it from going bad. Without salt, you couldn't ship. You couldn't go long distance.
Everything would be rotten.
That's right. So, and it's a necessary. Wars were commonly fought over salt throughout history because it was a vital commodity for preserving food, often scarce in certain regions. Yeah. So if you're not near the ocean, you're probably screwed. I don't know. That's a good question. Salt mines were hard to find.
Yeah, I mean,
salt's easy now.
Because if you look at what you had just pulled up, it's very clear. Almost every 50 years since beginning of time or whatever, you've got these wars, and then all of a sudden 1900 comes around, and we don't have any more wars over it.
It's funny how
solved something.
It's funny too how much salt had gotten demonized in more modern times. It is essential. People don't realize, like, if you don't have salt, good luck.
Right.
If you don't have salt, if you're living in the wilderness or whatever, and you don't have access to salt, like, you're gonna have to eat rocks. You're gonna have to scrape something off rocks to figure out how to get your sodium, because you're not going to do well. You need it.
I mean, don't you feel though? I mean, it's interesting when you think about when we first became trainers, how much it was demonized, and now you see products like Element and all their competitors that are blowing up. There's obviously a massive switch.
Very sometimes, not often, but sometimes what you see is somebody who goes into the market and completely shakes it up and starts a completely new trend. Okay? Electrolyte powders have been around for a long time, but people were so scared of sodium that nobody was putting 1,000 milligrams of sodium.
Right.
Nobody. Element, I remember that was sitting in the back over there, and I saw electrolyte powder, and I thought, I'm not interested.
We had to pause right there and explain to the audience. There was a reason why, as trainers, we used to kind of like scoff at electrolyte drinks.
Yeah.
Because they were basically worthless.
There was nothing.
There was nothing.
It was a sugar drink.
Exactly.
It
It was like the early years of Gatorade is a joke.
Yeah.
It's like and so if you were a trainer, you scoffed at electrolyte drinks until then.
Yeah, and it was also demonized, right? We were told sodium, cholesterol, saturated fat, like they're all bad for you. But I remember I was sitting back there, and I don't remember what happened. I actually read the label and I went, oh my God, it's 1,000. Like, they're actually putting 1,000 milligrams per serving. Like, that's going to do something. That's legit. And they're the first ones to do it. They were the first ones to not be afraid to do it. And now you have a lot of copycats that are following. But Element was they're industry leaders when it comes to proper electrolyte.
So I have a funny story about it too. It's a lot of the guys that are doing construction and doing this remodel I have going at this house, I would come by and we'd give them beers and whatnot. And I was like, and they're asking if we had any kind of like Gatorade or anything like that, as opposed, because, trying not to drink. I'm like, oh, sure, I got something even better, and so I'm bringing that over, and they're thinking it's like, oh, is this like an energy drink or like, so I had no idea like what to expect with it. And like, he drinks it. He's like, like, he thought it was like ocean water. And I'm like, so I had to go through this whole long like process of explaining why like it's beneficial and like all this stuff. But like, cause it's unexpected. Like it's unexpected that it actually has salt in it not like sugar.
Oh dude, I love it. So I don't know about you guys, but I think, so when I'm here, these are refrigerated here, so we drink them all the time. But when I'm home, pouring them over a tall thing of ice, I like them warm, poured over cold ice.
Yeah, you said that.
Because it's just like, it's like, you know, you know what I read why you put the cube in bourbon? Because it brings down the ratio of water to alcohol. Just enough. And the slowing of the ice melting into it. So I was watching some video on like a professional bourbon taster and stuff like that, and I forgot what the exact percentage of alcohol is. But when he would actually add water, he would add water to it to taste it. But we naturally do that when you put it in ice, and that melting of the ice takes it to the perfect. So anyways, big stretch here, right from that to over to element. Sorry, but I think that it's better with it like slowly. Ice. Yeah, because I've tried it. It's super good. Because it slowly melts, and then it like kind of brings down just a little bit of that like strong salty. If you feel that way,
neat, and it just I don't know. It's like an immediate headache for me. Like if I don't have any of that like water element to it, it's
not the perfect ratio. Supposedly it needs to have a little bit of that, according to this bourbon taster that I was watching. Wow. That's I didn't know that.
So I didn't tell you guys real quick. Those kids that come and do wash our cars or whatever. I had these old energy drinks in my fridge. These old like they're called like Total War, I think they're called. And I'm like, hey, you guys, you guys want some, these are young, they're like 20. Like, hey, you guys want one of these? Like, yeah, it's an energy drink. Gave it to, I come out there like 40 minutes later, like, what did you give me, bro? My skin is
oh god, dude.
You're washing the car fast, aren't you? Doing a good job.
Wow, you guys have done quick.
Yeah, dude. But he's like, bro, my skin's crawling. What is this?
Oh my god,
like,
dude.
Oh my bad.
The pre-workouts these kids make these days, they're crazy.
It was
bro.
in my it was mine. It was my old one.
Oh my god.
I have them like as reserve, like emergency.
Just to get break in case of emergency.
Like, what is this? Oh, tastes like cotton candy. So I wait 30 minutes, see what happens.
That's great.
Seed makes the world's best probiotic. Get all the benefits of a probiotic: clearer skin, better thinking, better digestion. With Seed, again, they're the world's best. They're the only probiotic we talk about. Go check them out. Go to seed.com/mindpump. Use the code 25mindpump. Get 25% off. All right, back to the show.
First question is from Rainbow Mom 3. Should I feel hungry eating at maintenance?
Okay, if you're really at maintenance and you're eating high protein, you won't feel a lot of hunger. You might feel cravings. This is where people have a challenge, is where they confuse cravings with hunger. In one of our coaching calls.
I was just going to talk about what you brought up in our coaching call.
Yeah, I thought that was Kyle. It was Kyle that said it.
Was it Kyle?
Yeah, he communicated it very, very well. We were in a coaching call with, we have a group of people going through MAPS Transform. And somebody asked a question like this, and he said, okay, here's something you can do. When you feel hungry, do you think you would want to eat a high protein meal? Like, yes, I'm hungry, I'll eat some chicken and some rice. If the answer is no, then you probably have a craving, and it's not actual hunger.
Yeah.
I thought that was really good.
There's another. I was actually thinking of something that you said that was different, and that so when this sometimes happens is when people don't eat whole foods.
Oh yeah.
So let's say you figured out your macros, and let's just say for argument's sake to make this conversation easy, 2,000 calories is your maintenance. And of those 2,000 calories, you've made up of it of a shake and 2 bars or more processed food. That tends to throw it off. So like when we were like this group that we were talking about, because somebody asked this question, Sal's recommendation of this person was really make a conscious effort to fill your maintenance calories up with whole foods, because this is even and that doesn't mean just healthy food, processed foods like protein shakes. One of the drawbacks of it is not the same as eating 4 ounces of chicken and some rice and some vegetables. Like, even though the macros might equate to the same, and when in the pursuit of building muscle or losing body fat, they're okay. But when it comes to like appetite control and stuff, if you're eating a lot of drinking a lot of calories or easily digestible, highly processed foods that are also designed to kick up your appetite, sometimes people will notice that. And just simply by making sure you discipline yourself to eat the whole foods can also mitigate this too.
So in other words, 30 grams of protein powder protein are not going to have the same satiety effects as 30 grams of chicken breast protein, which is the same, right? So, and part of that is the digestive process, like chewing on food, chewing on the chicken breast starts the digestive process. It also starts the satiety signal. Whereas I'm drinking it, it's in my body before the satiety signal.
Yet,
That's right. So you're macros don't all have the same satiety effects. Whole foods have the greatest satiety effects, and of the whole foods, the ones that are high protein have the best satiety effects. So if you're eating high protein at maintenance, whole natural foods, you shouldn't feel much hunger. If you feel a lot of hunger, then you might not be at maintenance. You might need to eat a little bit more.
One last piece of advice that I've actually heard Justin give before in this situation too is like pound a glass of water. Because you could sometimes we misinterpret our hunger with us being dehydrated. So simply rehydrating, and sometimes that goes away. So that, I think all the advice is right. Check all those boxes, and then if you check all the boxes that we just said, and you still feel hungry, to Sal's point, then you might not be at maintenance. Your your metabolism might be speeding up. Maybe you're building muscle and you need more calories.
Next question is from Summer L. Wainwright. Why is a behind the neck shoulder press harder than a military press?
Did you know that he put this in
I didn't
here?
know that. No, he said it
I sent these earlier.
Yeah, so behind the neck shoulder press is harder because it requires more mobility, and it actually disengages or doesn't involve as many muscles, right? So a traditional shoulder press actually uses a little bit of upper chest. When you're keeping it behind the neck, you're not using much upper chest in the press. Yeah. And you're also,
less help.
The mobility component makes it more difficult. There's more scapular retraction, more rotation of the scapula.
It's hard to just maintain that position.
That's right.
In general,
you're going to fatigue faster as a result, so it's much harder. Now that being said, you can get really good at these. Like I've seen Olympic lifters behind the neck push press ridiculous weight, and they got so good at it they probably could do more than they would with a regular shoulder press. So part of this is also you just don't practice one of them very much. And again, I brought this up earlier in the episode. There's videos of bodybuilders from the 90s that the behind the neck press was the preferred shoulder press in the 90s for bodybuilders. These guys were pressing 3 plates behind the neck. That's because they practiced it all the time. So that's another reason, I would say.
Yeah, I would recommend, I think this is a great goal. I think a great goal would be, can I catch my behind the neck press up to my regular seated press and see what happens? I think that's a good goal to have. But expecting it to be anywhere near that when you first start is crazy. I mean, I shared earlier also talking about, I had to start with the bar. I had to start with the bar, and I increased by 10 pounds at a time, just slowly until I got to the plate where I was.
Just mobility drills first, even before.
That's why. Yeah. So you know what I love, by the way, to that point, this is what made me fall in love with the Z press. I think the Z press is a great precursor to getting behind the neck press.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You have to be able, in order for you to.
That's why you get such a crazy pump on that too.
Yes, when you have to get good at the Z press. If you get good at the Z press, it translates into practicing get behind the neck presses. So that's a good thing. If you're somebody who wants to get behind the neck and you can't yet, start with mobility drills and Z pressing first. That's a good place to get you there.
Next question is from License to Ilio. When I do a barbell incline press, my shoulders always give out first. How do I correct this?
So I'm assuming they mean fatigue first, because if they actually give out, there's a stability issue.
You're in a world of hurt.
But this can happen with shoulder presses. With incline presses or bench presses for some people. It's more common with the bench press that it's a technique issue. Incline press technique tends to be better or easier to get into better technique.
Yeah.
One thing you could do is do an isolation exercise before doing these. I mean, if you want your chest to fatigue first. Yeah, do flies. Do like 2 sets of flies, pretty intense. Then go to the incline press, and then you'll feel your chest give out before your shoulders.
Yeah, this screams mechanical issue for me.
Connectivity,
Yeah, I mean, if if you're doing this correctly, although the shoulders are involved, you should primarily feel it in your chest, and so. The client that feels it in the shoulders tends to have their shoulders rolling forward when they're pressing, and so just a lot of emphasis on the retracting and depressing of the shoulders.
I wonder if bar position too, in terms of their grip, a little wider would help on some level, just to open the chest to feel that a bit as well.
Yeah, you know what else too that isn't talked about a lot, but you'll see this when people don't have a lot of developed muscle yet. I noticed this as a kid. I also noticed this with female clients. where they feel their delts more in a chest press in their chest because they have underdeveloped pecs. I noticed this as a kid. Like when I would do back exercises, I didn't feel my back. I felt my arms.
It's just an objective for the body. It is, and so whatever's strongest, it's going to prioritize.
Yeah. So if you don't have like much pecs to begin with, and I would see this more with women, where we would do a chest press, and they'd feel in their shoulders and triceps. It would always be shoulders, triceps, even with good technique, until they started developing some connection and strength in the chest, and they felt it there.
Next question is from, excuse me. Next question is from N. Kreiser 4. What are the primary reasons why the hips might rise first in a heavy back squat? Muscle imbalances, cues, mobility?
Yeah, well, you got to stay upright and
chest
you're probably
up. That's
not,
the cue.
Yeah.
The cue is when you're training a client. This is common, by the way, for the hips to rise. A lot of people do
call
this.
a stripper squat where the butt goes up.
And the cue as a trainer
nails
to
it.
help that person is chest up, chest up. What'll happen is as they drop down in the hole, they'll slightly fall forward, and then the hips will rise. And so if you cue that person to keep their chest up, it tends to allow them to drive out of
Sit
the
upright.
You know what helps with this? Really great cue that you learn as a coach is chest up, but just look slightly up too.
Yeah.
Like keeping your eyes slightly up tends to keep that position as you squat. Keeping the chest up is what we're looking for. But sometimes when I would communicate that, people would be like, huh? Like, what do you mean keep my chest up? So I'd say, okay, I want you to look slightly above your head as you're squatting. And when they do that, it would keep them in a
because
nice,
they're looking down primarily.
Looking
That's why
down
they're traveling forward with their upper
50%
body.
of the time.
Yeah.
Okay, 50%, at least half the time this happened with me with clients was because they were looking down when they were squatting.
Do you think a high bar position too might play a factor with that? Just I know it forces you forward a bit more if you can bring it down.
I would say the low bar will cause them to be more forward like that.
So for people who come forward because of the length of their limbs, and so if you have long femurs, you'll come forward more. Putting it lower on the back actually helps because you're shortening the lever on the back. So you're still going to bend forward, but because it's lower on the back, it's not as much pressure on the back. So it's like a low bar squat. I prefer low bar squatting because this happens to me. Not this with my hips rising, but
it's the momentum.
I can't sit super upright in a squat. I never could. So I keep it low on my back, and it takes away some of that pressure. All right, I know you liked that episode. If you did, check this one out. Stop doing 3 sets of 12 to build muscle and do this instead. You guys want to guess?
Stop doing the 3 sets of 12 and do this instead. With that intro, my guess is you're going to tell people to change the rep range
5
up
by
to 5 by 5 or low rep range.
Do you guys remember
the
when
angle you're going?
Yeah, so oftentimes we get stuck in like a set count and a rep count or a range that's